Hi. This week's First Chapter Friday is Life in Motion, An Unlikely Ballerina by Misty Copeland. This is an autobiography, and if you recall, autobiographies are books that are written about somebody's life by that person, as opposed to just a biography, which is a book written about somebody's life by somebody else. So this is written by Misty Copeland. And I had the great pleasure of seeing her present at a conference at one point talking about this book. She's really an incredible person, and you're going to learn a lot about her in this book. So I'm going to read you what's called the prologue of this book. A prologue is a chapter that's at the beginning of a book. The prologue really sets the stage so you know who she is as you're reading about the rest of the book. Prologue. It's morning, 8 a.m. to be exact. My alarm goes off for no more than 5 seconds before I sit up to stop the nagging sound. As I stretch my arms, I realize how achy my body is. Still, it's a wonderful aching every dancer knows. As many busy New Yorkers do, I click a few buttons on my computer and order my morning coffee, black, no sugar, and blueberry muffin from the corner deli to be delivered to the door of my Upper West Side apartment. Class starts at 10:30 at the Met. The ordinary rituals of my day belie what will soon be an extraordinary evening. I'm eager for this day to start so that later I can rise again, this time on the stage of the Metropolitan Opera House. Tonight, I will become the first Black woman to star in Igor Stravinsky's iconic role for the American Ballet Theater, one of the most prestigious dance companies in the world. As the Firebird. This is for the little brown girls. My bar warm up this morning would be familiar to any ballet dancers, whether she's an apprentice in Moscow or a 7-year-old taking his first ballet class in Detroit. It's slow, structured, yet fragmentary, perfectly designed to bring me to center, where I can dance freely without the bar, each motion a broken down version of what tonight's solos will be. I start with pliés, increasingly deeper bends of the knee, which warm up my legs while still allowing them the support that they need. I transition to larger movements of the leg, circling them in my rondes de jambe and bending them in fondus, gradually stretching my hips and knees. I finish with a porte de bras, stretching my torso forward and from side to side. I move to center, where each aerobic exercise moves more fluidly to the next without the bar's strictures. I know that each graceful glissade where I jump in first position with both legs flicking to a dagger before closing into fifth stems from that disengaged brush of the leg where my foot leaves the floor, which stems from a tendu, a single pointed toe that I've extended while maintaining contact with the floor. Ballets are just stylized versions of these seemingly basic movements in a grand scale. If the basic strength and elegance of a bar class is like slipping on a little black dress, the challenge of dancing a full 3-act ballet is like learning to accessorize for any occasion. I have to think about whether I want to add sass or longing or, as I will tonight, the exotic, otherworldly energy of the mythical Firebird. You have to know the appropriate way to adorn each story and character with your body. Sleeping Beauty, for example, is very elegant and regal. Its movements are fluid, with few accents. There are certain ways you have to hold your torso, position your head, and use your arms as a certain character that can differ from what I rehearse in class. The difference between being an amazing technician and being a soloist or principal is mastering those interpretive flourishes to tell the best story. Otherwise, you aren't a ballerina, you're just another dancer. No matter how old you are or how long you've been dancing, ballet professionals know that we have to repeat these steps in class every day to maintain the strength and the clean positioning that's so essential to dancers. I'm constantly working on my technique. Even a single day off can cause my muscles to forget what my mind knows by heart. I take class 7 days a week, even though the company only works 5 days each week. I know that I'll never perfect the ballet technique, ever. That's why I love it so much. It never becomes boring, even though I've done all these movements in this very studio a million times over 13 years. It's my safe place where I can experiment. I sweat, grunt, and make faces that would never pass on the Metropolitan Opera House stage. It's the time to push myself beyond my limits so that my performances can feel effortless and fresh. Not everyone wants to push themselves to that brink of breaking, but it's what you commit to when you're a professional, the very present reality that you may break instead of bend. Today, I don't jump. My left shin has been hurting, and I don't want to risk straining it before tonight's performance. I've always been known as a jumper, able to soar to great heights and land like a feather on the stage. The firebird flutters and flies, but it has been difficult to practice her grand jumps the past several weeks. The pain in my leg has been intense, and I've had to save every bit of my strength for the actual performances. By now, I'm as familiar with the feral gestures of the firebird as I am with my own breath, my own heartbeat. American Ballet Theater's spring season has been underway for 6 weeks, with 2 more to go, and I previously performed as the Firebird twice in Southern California, barely an hour away from my hometown. I have a light rehearsal around noon at the Met to space the choreography and get the feel of the stage. I want to be sure that I hit all of my marks, that I'm always in the right place so I don't collide with the corps de ballet during my variations, or move out of sync with my partner when we dance the pas de deux. When the public walks into the hallowed space of the Metropolitan Opera, it sees its gilded foyer, its luxe patron boxes, and its grand stage. But behind the scenes, there are studio spaces where performers can hone their magic, eking out a final practice before the show begins. I spend part of the afternoon in one of those rooms for a private rehearsal with Alexei Radmansky, Firebird's choreographer. Alexei, ever the visionary and perfectionist, is changing the choreography up until the last minute. He tweaks a leap here, a twist there. We go through all my solos to ensure that the counts are exactly right. Beat 1, on my toes. Beat 2, dart to the right. Beat 3, bound through the air. Alexei changes my entrance to the stage several times before we finally agree to the steps that best suit me. There are 2 other casts, and the Firebird's entrance in each is different, difficult, unique. I feel energized. I feel ready. This is for all the little brown girls. I walk home to my apartment a dozen blocks from the Met. I shower and flip to the Food Network just to have some background noise as I try to relax my mind, wind down my body. A couple hours later, I'm back at the Met. The curtain won't go up until 7:30 p.m., and I won't take the stage until 9, but I want to be early to not have to rush. It's a special evening, and not just for me. Kevin McKenzie, ABT's artistic director, is also being honored. In his 20th anniversary in that role, and in celebration, there will be speeches, a video tribute featuring congratulations from the artistic directors of nearly every major classical company in the world, and performances by all of ABT's principal dancers. It's getting close to showtime. I have been a soloist for 5 years, and the 11 of us have a dressing room all to ourselves. But I've never used it. I prefer the comforting camaraderie of the dressing area shared by the corps. I spent 6 years as part of the corps de ballet, and with them I want to remain preparing for my first principal role in a classical ballet, surrounded by loving friends. Nothing feels different between us, even though I'll dance the lead. That, at least, provides normalcy on this extraordinary night. I have my own corner of the dressing room, claimed long ago. The table is so crowded with flowers and chocolates and photographs that there's barely room for me to squeeze in my cell phone. There are bouquets of orchids, my favorite, and dozens of roses. Arthur Mitchell, the founder of the Dance Theater of Harlem, has left me a voicemail wishing me luck. There are dozens more emails, texts, and cards from friends, family, and fans all over the country wishing me well. Looking at the beautiful bounty, I start to get emotional, but I can't be distracted. I can't be overwhelmed. This is for all the little brown girls. I go into hair and makeup about a half hour after the evening performance starts. In the mirror, Misty disappears and a mystical creature takes her place, its face dusted with red glitter and painted with dazzling red spirals that shoot from the corners of its eyes. Even my inch-long false lashes are colored red. One of the company's dressers slicks back my hair into a smooth swirl to better attach my red and gold plume. "Good luck, Misty," a dancer hollers at me with a smile. "Enjoy it," says another. I know that they wholeheartedly mean what they say, but those are everyday salutations that can be tossed out before any night's performance. They don't reflect the monumental nature of this evening and what it means to me and the rest of the African American community. Maybe no words could. 15 minutes. I plopped down on the floor of the dressing area's lounge, stretching, flexing, staring at myself in the mirror. I stamp that thought down as quickly as it emerges. I think to myself, this is it. This is my moment. Finally, the moment to shine, to prove myself, to represent Black dancers at the highest level of ballet. This is for all the little brown girls. But my shin is throbbing uncontrollably. I know deep down that I can't go on much longer with such pain. Tonight will be the first time I perform at the Firebird in New York, and I pray it won't be my last. By the time Firebird is up, ABT has performed several other pieces, and 2 intermissions have paused the program. I make my way toward the stage. Kevin McKenzie, the conductor, and the rest of ABT's artistic staff are standing there, behind the curtain, wishing me luck. I remember the first time I stood on the stage at the Metropolitan Opera House. I was 19 years old, still struggling to find my place in ABT's corps de ballet. I traced the marley floor with my pointe shoes and imagined myself on the stage, not as a member of the corps, but as a principal dancer. It felt right. It felt like a promise. Someday, somehow, it was going to happen for me. A decade later, I'm here, waiting for that moment when I will explode onto the stage in a burst of red and gold. Outside, the largest crowd I have ever seen waits. Prominent members of the African American community and trailblazers in the world of dance who have seldom received their due are here tonight. Arthur Mitchell, Deborah Lee, Star Jones, Nelson George. But I know I will also dance for those who aren't here, who have never seen a ballet, who pass the Metropolitan Opera House but cannot imagine what goes on inside. They may be poor, like I have been, insecure, like I have been, misunderstood, like I have been. I will be dancing for them too, especially for them. This is for the little brown girls. I stand in the farthest upstage wing when the curtain rises. There are a flock of firebirds who enter the stage first after Ivan the Prince. I can feel the anticipation rolling off the crowd as they pose and preen. They expect me to be among them. I take a deep breath. The music starts, and with it comes the cheers, a great roar of love from the audience. I realize in that moment that it doesn't matter what I do on the stage tonight. They're all here for me, with me, here for who I am and what tonight represents. I run onto the stage and feel myself transform. As I approach center, my flock parts, leaving me to stand alone. There's a brief second of silence before the audience erupts into applause once more, clapping so loudly I can barely hear the music, and so it begins.